Hi everybody, our reading skill today is I can compare and contrast while reading. So I'm going to ask you to kind of do this. I only have maybe a couple stops in this one for you, but I want you trying to think of it. Our story is called Pop, the Invention of Bubble Gum. Okay, so remember, compare and contrast. When you compare, you're telling how two things are alike. And when you contrast, you're telling how two things are different. And remember, this is what we do a lot when we do our Venn diagrams. Things in the middle are how they're alike. Things on the outer two are how they're different. Okay? So see if you can make any comparisons in this one, our story, Pop, the Invention of Bubble Gum. Oh, gotta see this. On a small street in Philadelphia in the 1920s, there was a factory owned by the Fleer family. Now, the 1920s, remember how I've talked to you about my parents, right? So the 1920s would be even before my parents were born. So they're in their 80s. So this would be even before they were born, because they were born in the 30s. Inside the factory, lots of gum and candy were made. I bet that'd be a fun place to work. Working upstairs was a young accountant named Walter Deemer. His job was to add numbers and balance budgets. He knew lots about math, but not much about gum. So can you figure out what an accountant does? If he likes math, he's probably working with the numbers for the factory. There wasn't enough space in the building, so a new experimental laboratory was moved into the office next to Walter's. In came lots of beakers and pots and tubes. Oh, what could be going on? The big secret was that the company was trying to make a new kind of gum. Chewing gum had already been around for centuries. Men in top hats and women in puffy dresses chewed gum for fun and to cure things like stomach aches. The ancient Greeks chewed the sap of the mastic tree. I didn't realize gum had been around for that long. And American Indians introduced early settlers to spruce tree resin, a sticky substance that could be chewed. Remember when we talked about the Native Americans and the settlers? Ho hum, gum wasn't that exciting, but what if gum chewers could blow bubbles? Now that would be something, a world full of bubble gum blowers. Is that anything like you? Every day, Walter watched what went on inside the laboratory. There wasn't much progress. One day, his boss gestured toward one of the kettles containing a gum experiment and said, "Watch that, will you?" After a while, I was not only watching it, I was doing it, Walter said. He added a bit of this and a bit of that, but still nothing. Perhaps making a new gum wasn't possible after all. And soon, Walter's boss had given up. I wonder what's going to happen. But Walter hadn't. He spent months playing with different mixtures. Finally, something was happening. Bubbles, big, glorious bubbles. The mixture needed flavor, so Walter added a bit of cinnamon, a dash of wintergreen, a drop of vanilla. Could this bubbling batch be bubble gum? Walter put a wad into his mouth and began to chew. When the time was right, he blew a magnificent bubble. "I had it," Walter said. Excitedly, he passed out the mixture for his coworkers to try. We were blowing bubbles and prancing all over the place. Sadly, the next day, the mixture was as hard as a rock. It wouldn't blow a bubble worth a darn. But Walter didn't give up. Back to work he went. After many more months of adding this and that, top secret ingredients he would never share, Walter found what he was looking for. It bubbled and popped. Could this batch finally be bubble gum? To finish off his grand creation, he needed some color. Pink coloring was the only one I had at hand, said the inventor, so in it went. Had you ever wondered why bubble gum was pink? A batch was cut into pieces and 5 pounds of it was brought to a local mom and pop store. It was the day after Christmas and the kids who came into the store got the present of a lifetime. They were the first people in the world to try a bubble gum that worked. That day, Walter gave lessons on how to blow bubbles. Everyone loved bubble gum. When the kids discovered what it could do, it sold out that afternoon, Walter said. Walter's double bubble was such a success that the Fleer Corporation made truckloads of delicious bubble gum. It was delivered to small stores and big stores alike. After being promoted to vice president and then later retiring from Fleer, Walter enjoyed the rest of his life in a relaxed manner. He was known to ride around on a giant tricycle and liked to invite the neighborhood kids over for, what else? Gum blowing contests. Walter Deemer never got rich from his invention, but he didn't seem to mind. I've done something with my life, he said. I've made kids happy around the world. All right, I want to talk about just quickly, if you think of any connections you made to it, and then if you can compare yourself to Walter at all. But what I'd like to talk about is Walter and his boss. So his boss went in and was trying to make bubble gum, and he just couldn't get it and couldn't get it. And what did he end up doing? Giving up. But did Walter give up? No, he kept trying and trying until he did it. So they weren't alike in that way. They were alike in the fact that they both were trying something new and trying to invent, but they definitely were not alike in the fact that one gave up and one kept trying. Have a great day.